Watch me walk across that river.
I like to keep my eye on what's going on internationally in new movements in theatre, and as a designer within the discipline of theatre, I like to keep my eye on what's happening on the international scene. And I had taken note of the fact that there was a sort of explosion in what was then called disability art or disability performance, particularly in the UK, that was slowly creeping into Canada. And it was a political statement that positioned artists that were otherwise abled at the center of the work, not as a way to excuse it, but as a way to celebrate it. I would say that there were two pivotal students who encouraged us to open our doors in the theater department. One was Natasha Urkow, who is central in the work that Listen to Dis does, and the other student was John Lepke, who was also central to it.
Okay, let's back up a little bit, including the filmmaker. Get your ass over there. Okay. Up until Natasha Urkow, one of our members and staff, was up until her involvement in a production, they hadn't had anybody in a wheelchair on the main stage ever to their knowledge.
I was becoming way more familiarized with the theater department, and the theater department familiarized with, oh, what do we do with her, right? So the class kind of came about, and Kathleen Irwin were noticing that there are a bunch of people who are interested and who identify with mixed abilities. So she found us, and she intrigued us and created this class.
And we had to make a few changes. But we also had to make changes in our own thinking around disability within the arts scene. When this shift started to happen, the first step was to develop a class around this subject material. And although I'm not an expert in the field at all, I established a course called Devising Inclusive Theatre.
Kathleen eventually reached out to me to say, would I be interested in assisting her, teaching the class with her? And I was pumped. I was really interested in doing that.
And so this class was, which Tracy was brought on to co-teach with Kathleen, was the department's first sort of real foray into we want to be inclusive, we want to be accessible, and we want to have a class. Not that it's like disabled people go over there into that class, but a really good starting point of what does inclusive theater teachings at a university level, what does inclusive theater practice look like from a ground level.
And I think our first class that we did together, we stayed together for just short of 4 hours instead of the hour and a half that was designated as a class time.
And we started to explore theoretical literature around disability art practice, but we also started to explore and experiment with expression and performance.
We're digging into some personal stuff, right? So, I mean, that's where Tracy came in a big way, because she was able to kind of coach us and guide us in a safe way to let out all of these deep and painful things that maybe some people couldn't express or never even recognized before. You know, it was, and I don't want to say that it was therapeutic in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of these suppressed feelings or issues or stories haven't been dealt with.
Very quickly, we began to understand that individuals that we had normally not welcomed into our department were very instrumental in turning us into an exciting, experimental, forward-thinking theater training center.
So the decision was made to make a play from the ground up, incorporating all of our lived experiences, our true-to-life feelings and adventures, and how people have treated us in the past and where that's come from. And we're able to devise all of our lived experiences into one great and beautiful script.
Our disabilities make us who we are. They don't make us heroes. So I'm not your hero. I'm just a person.
Essentially, the only goal at the end was to do, as you often do in those kinds of classes, where you have a performance at the end. And we had no expectation. We put together this show, devised right up until 2 days before, and it got given a name, Neither Heroes Nor Ordinary People.
It's almost serendipitous. Something happens. The alchemy of these students and Kathleen and myself created a project that ended up culminating in a devised theater production that we presented at the end of the semester.
And it was, in fact, a real celebration of what we had done and learned over the course of the semester. We put it on at noontime, and we invited the university community to come, and it was sold out, and it was actually sort of wildly successful.
Eventually, we go, eventually as in a week later, there's sort of like a debriefing lunch at the faculty club when it was still around.
At the luncheon to celebrate the success of everybody's, the class and everybody's presentation of their material, we were invited to show it at the Cathedral Village Arts Festival.
And we went, yeah, all right, that sounds good. We want to keep going. This was fun. Let's kind of keep rolling. Quite literally. For some of us,
that then brought that class and those students directly into the organization.
Our names are
Nikki,
John,
Natasha,
Nicole.
All of that culminated in creating what is the Other Ordinary, which is our emerging professional company.
Going into that class, I had the desire to be an actor. I'd always had the desire to be an actor since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, since I was little. But I didn't think it was possible. Then that class taught me that it was totally possible.
I believe that it is possible now. People are making an effort to get equipment to make their stages accessible. Now theater is something looked at as a career for everyone. And I don't think it was before.
I think we knew as artists that we had a show that we wanted to work on and cultivate a little more than we had the time to do in the university class. And so we began to workshop it, and the show became pretty close to what it is today, just a 55-minute theater production that speaks to the lived experiences of the people in the show themselves. So the material comes out of their stories, and it also comes out of the way they want to tell story. We found a way to put those different ways of expressing together theatrically and applied to present through the Globe Theatre's Shumiatcher Sandbox series for 2016.
The voices in that production had not been heard at Globe Theatre ever before. The challenge was that our building is completely inaccessible. So we decided to program the production at the University of Regina. So the production of Neither Heroes Nor Ordinary People not only provided a very powerful theatrical forum for the work of the artists who had created the piece, but it was the adaptation and the accommodations that the cast provided to one another to ensure that there was full participation. It was very moving, and particularly when John was kneeling behind Kelsey at the beginning of the production and whispering the words that she had written for the production so that she could speak with her own voice. I found it very moving and very inspiring.
being a part of that and doing it with such a company, it was just amazing. I still remember opening night and just taking our bows, and I was probably just beaming, just so happy from the work that we did to lead us to that point, and even further than that. I was just very pleased with everything there.
I've been interested in the theater community for a very long time and grown up with going to the shows at the Globe Theater and wanting to be on that stage, and to then get to be able to say I'm in a Globe Theater show was like I say, a dream come true.
Did you ever know that you're my hero? Oh my God, I'm not your fucking hero. And everything.
And so that kind of gave a different professional light on our work, really. Whereas before, I might have not even realized that there is potential to actually become a professional artist or make professional work, even in the industry, right? That it's not just a hobby. It's not just therapy.
The Globe Theater performance, the Sandbox series that we did, that was actually where I first met Tori, because she came to see our show alongside her mom, and she came up to us afterwards, especially with me, and she said that it was refreshing to see autism put on stage in the way that we did it. Because at the end of Neither Heroes, like our epilogue, Maria and I, we talk about how disability is not a personal choice and it's a curveball in life. She says ADHD and I say autism spectrum, because when you watch the show, people often wonder, like, what are these two able-bodied people doing here? What's their shtick? And then we do reveal at the end, like, after the whole surprise, we're all in this together, and not every disability is one that you can see. And of course, there are people that are just like, that's good.
I felt right at home once I started getting used to everything. I really loved our warm-up sessions. We connect with each other and we connect with the room. It's a very inclusive and safe, very safe place.
The message that we carry with that show, it speaks to such a wide audience of inclusivity. We're learning, not even just with disability or people of like physical difference. It can be applied to almost pretty much anybody in the pain that you experience with depression or mental health. Or
for the first show, the Neither Heroes, that's been kind of a journey, because I wasn't around for the start of it, so my journey with it is a bit different, but it's equally as phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. It's a really personal play, and it's quite an honor as a theater artist and a collaborator to be inside of something for this long, that we actually can adapt as the artists. Their range of ability to perform certain material is growing. They're growing as artists, and we see something or hear something of a experience that someone has, and we have the possibility to say, well, we're going to do an extra 5-minute scene or two for this particular show now, and it's going to stand differently than it did. When in fact we were quite satisfied where it stood.
even though we've been doing the play for so long, when we do perform it, the reaction that we get from the audience, it's like this crystal clear reminder of oh yeah, that's why we do it. Because they're just flabbergasted. They're just I know that, that brought tears to my eyes, and this is why. I've lived through this, and that reminded me, and I've got a similar experience, or, it just touches people in this, empathetic way where they can relate.
We've had nights where, in both shows, Heroes and Mine to Have, where the audience is taking in so much and feeling so much that they are almost silent. There's a lot. And then we had one night of Mine to Have where it was just uproarious laughter after every scene. Different reactions are the beauty of theater.
That audience reaction is huge validation why we need to keep keep getting it out there.
The audience really make it worth it. Their reactions to everything, laughing and crying, and then how at the end of our play they ask questions, like they want to get to, like actually want to know more. Honestly, it's the end result is the most satisfying part, because it makes me realize like this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to spread awareness, spread information, and let everyone know that we're just normal people and we have these feelings too, kind of thing. So the end result is definitely always the satisfying part for me.
Like they're always so intrigued by what we do and saying that these are stories that are meant to be told. And being a part of a company like this, it's just something that I never imagined that I would be doing back when I was in my theater studies. And I'm very happy that I was given the, hey, you should come see what our group is about. Come on down.
Those of us who have been doing it for so long, it's kind of like, okay, guys, like, you know, how many years do we do this for, right? But we keep finding little nuances and changing things and mixing it up, and I mean the need for it is still there, and it's not going away. So I don't think we can be selfish and stop it yet, right?
But I think people through this are going to change. I hope they're going to change their message. Yeah, that's my message, is like, let us be people and let us, you know, because we have just as much capability as the rest of the world, but we require a lot more adaptations. But I think our world has come far, but I don't know if it's far enough, but I believe through shows and educating, it will come to that.
You know Dr. Seuss, All the Places You Go? It's one of my favorite books, and it's a basic summary of what keeps me going. Because I realize that I gotta keep going. I feel joy in experiencing things. That's why I love art, I guess, because I can experience so many new things and make people feel it. I want people to being able to make people feel certain things with just by acting it out or just by showing certain ways. It honestly, it brings a tear. It's really emotional, and that's what I'm looking for. I want people to be able to let go of themselves a bit. That's what keeps me going.
So let the naysayers neigh. I'm stronger every day. I've got my faith. I've got no time to waste to get to where I need to be. I got my back to the wall. I've got nowhere to fall. I'm standing up tall. Watch me walk across that river. Look the devil in the eye.